Hey guys, tonight is Tuesday, December 16th. It's about almost 7:40 for me, and I decided to do a podcast tonight about as much as I can possibly tell you about my experiences with psychotherapy. In light of the recent events, I just felt like it was the time to do it, and I've never really shared, about my therapy in detail. Meaning, I've mentioned it ad nauseum in podcasts, but I haven't really talked about it or dedicated any time to it because it was something that was really just kind of for me. It is my thing. I feel like I share so many things, and for a while I felt like sharing, tons and tons of details about it would take something away from me. But I feel like after my session tonight, I've kind of started to learn that just like a lot of the other things that I share, this podcast could be beneficial to someone, anyone who has no idea about it. Like, how do you get to this place? And I'm going to do my best. I made some very light notes. I did my 5 points per the usual. And I'm going to just say that depression is not a bad word. And if you are suicidal, you felt suicidal, you can just Google suicide hotline and the number comes up, and there's always someone there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to talk to you about your issues. So, number one is how I actually decided. Like, what was the point? How did I get to a place of therapy? And I have had two experiences with therapy. When I was in college several years ago, maybe 2 years before I graduated, I fell into a bit of a depression. And, excuse me, I just ate dinner. I don't think I knew what depression was. I don't think I knew um, anything about it. I was in college. I lived in San Francisco. The weather was really gloomy and sad and dark. And I had seasonal affect disorder. Like, I grew up in sunny Southern California where the sun sort of woke you up every day. And to move up there where the sun comes out like 2 months a year was very depressing. I lived by the beach, which I thought was sexy, but ended up being even foggier and more gloomy. And I failed out of college that semester because I just couldn't bring myself to get up and get out of bed. And there was nothing that I could do about it. It wasn't like I wasn't trying. You know, some people are like, oh, you need to try. You're not trying. I'm like, I was trying. I couldn't do anything. And so after several months went by and I finally got the grades and the letter from the university that I was basically being kicked out, called my mom and kind of told her what was going on. And it was just like, I can't do this anymore. And just told her what I was doing and what was happening. And my mom worked in health benefits, my whole childhood. And so she said, you need to take advantage of your health benefits and see a therapist. And then I want you to move home. And I was just like, eesh. So I was going to move home because I really was like, well, I failed out. What am I going to do? I was able to get in and see someone, and I had a decent experience. This therapist, she was a little bit bitchy, but she was the bitchy kind of person that I needed at the time. And so she worked with me to like help me change my major. She got me back in school, and for the last 4 semesters, I ended up getting straight A's and graduated with decent grades, and life was good. But it was very rough because I really didn't know how to handle things. And I grew up in a black family, where, you don't talk back to your parents, you don't question what they tell you, all these kinds of things. And I felt like I just couldn't get along. Who I wanted to be and who I felt like I wasn't in line with what I felt like maybe my family thought or I should be or wanted me to be. And also who I felt like I needed to be to my peers. Like, let's face it, I was like 21, 22 years old, and I'm looking around at everybody else because I don't know what it's like to be 30 or 40 and have confidence, and I don't know about careers. I'm thinking that my end all be all is right here in college. So that was my first experience, and I went there for like a couple months, and then I was fine because Grades got up, got back into school, fine. Second time I started therapy was 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago in August. And I started because I had two things were happening. I had become sort of like successful sort of right away, where some other people sort of become successful over years, like let's just say you start off and you start at 50,000, then you go to 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. Like it's like I did like a massive jump, and I don't care what anyone says, it's insanely scary. Insanely scary. Not only that, I also, I have been in the background working for lots of brands my entire career. And so when I put myself sort of in the front of the brand, and the only reason why I did that is just I wanted for people to know that there was someone that looked like them that was actually doing this, like, so you can trust that I am picking products and looking at things and working with brands and with you in mind because I look like you. And so what that did was open me up to insane amounts of criticism, which criticism doesn't really bother me. It's just the sort of bullying and taunting and just horrible things that you'd be, had you asked me 5 years ago that if somebody says some things like that to me, would I care? I would be like, heck no, I don't care. But I'm telling you, when people keep doing it and keep saying it, and people just have like awful things to say or feel so entitled to share their opinion, true or false, with you all the time, like it wears on you. And all things all at once. And then all of a sudden it was like I changed. Like I changed to my friends and I changed to my family suddenly, but without trying. Like all of a sudden I was no longer like the cool person. Like all of a sudden I was just this different person. And something that people don't really tell you about success is that it's insanely isolating, And so today when I got to therapy, I had my list of things I wanted to talk about, but the first thing my therapist brought up was what we've all been kind of discussing in the hair space. And I said to her, she wanted to know my feelings. And I think that because she's like, this is a colleague of yours, like, and she knows that I go to her because I have struggled with all kinds of things, which I will share with you. But I was like, I don't think that people understand how isolating it becomes. And I often have wondered if people were isolating me or if I was isolating myself. But it is very isolating. And it's like, it sounds crazy to say this, but like, as ashamed as you may feel as like the brokest person in a space or with your friends or in a group, is you feel the same way as the person with the most. Like there's just this kind of feeling, it's just a really weird, strange feeling to feel like you have more than people, or you can do more access, less sort of like, I know that if I go outside and all four tires of mine are flat, I can pretty much get it fixed today. And it's like I don't have to transfer anybody out to do anything. And that kind of stuff just it's difficult because I've been on every single side of the coin. Just a few years ago, I like was sleeping on the floor. I didn't even have a mattress. I didn't even have a can opener. Like, so I've been on every side of this. And so that's kind of where I was. So this is my second experience, and I decided to start going because I was gazing out of my window of my new house, the house that I live in now. And my house is like a small house. Like it is not some opulent like mansion. It's me, but it's a nice place. And I'm gazing out of the window, and like tears are just coming out of my eyes because I'm at a point in my life where I have everything I want. Like all of the things I had told myself were keeping me from my happiness. Oh, I'm not happy because I don't live here. I'm not happy because I don't drive this car. I'm not happy because I can't vacation here. I'm not happy because I can't do this. So I start doing all this, and I am more miserable, the most miserable I had ever been in my life. And so I kept like telling people that, like people that are in my inner circle that I kind of talk to every day. And so one of my close friends, my business advisor, like every day I was calling him and telling him, I was just working all day. That's the thing that people don't really know is that you work for yourself and don't really have a huge staff, and so you start working, and then like I was just talking to my friend today who's also an entrepreneur. I no longer work at home for a multitude of reasons, but I've starred in that movie of getting up 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning in your robe, grabbing a cup of coffee at 5 a.m. and walking around with the cell phone in your pocket. You're walking around doing calls. You've got your laptop in every single room, and you look up and you're pouring out your last bit of cold coffee at midnight or 2 a.m. And that becomes the cycle. And so I had basically gotten into that sort of pattern. And I was just not happy. And I was like, there's no way I can get out of this. And so my friend, and I'm jumping around a bit, but my friend went and told me, like, you know what? Like, I really don't have anything else to tell you. It's time for you to talk to someone. So I had another friend who I think noticed this about me like months before, and she was just like, hey, I go to a therapist, and I knew she went to a therapist because her mom had died of cancer, and she had started seeing this therapist as her mother got diagnosed because she wanted to be able to handle this as best as she could. And I tell you that she was the most graceful person I had ever seen at her mother's funeral. Like, the therapy I saw was helpful, and so I ended up texting her, and I was like, I remember you telling me you had someone for me. Can you please send it to me? And so she sent me the therapist's information that her therapist thought would be good for me based on what she had told her about me. And I've been seeing her ever since. And so I remember, I'll never forget my first trip to the therapist, and we do the first session, and I'm like, okay, so do you have like a sheet that you can tell me like what we accomplished today, what we'll be accomplishing in the next month, and what I can look forward to, like, basically, and when will I be done baking, when is this over? And she just looked like, really? And that's the part that I don't think I understood about therapy the first time, is that she was like, it took 30 something years for us to get to this place. It's going to take us more than an hour a week to sort of get to a different place. And so I kind of just, after that time, just opened my mind up to whatever could or would happen, because it had to be better than any place that I was at mentally and emotionally. So every week, I go to therapy, 5 o'clock, typically Tuesdays. I used to go Thursday, so that's typically where I'm at every single week. I block off my calendar for an hour before that so that nobody puts anything on there. The last thing I want to do is to be rushing to my time. So I usually block that hour off. I leave really early to my appointment so that if I just even have to sit in the parking lot and look through things on my phone or sit in the lobby, I just really try to make sure I'm fully decompressed and fully present and fully ready to get whatever it is I need to get, or say whatever it is I want to say. And I like my therapist for a host of reasons. She is an African-American female. My assumption is that she's older than me. I haven't asked, and I thought about that. I'm like, she looks great, so I don't really know. I assume that she is based on the kind of information that she gives me. I like her because she has helped me with things that I don't know that I've ever could have gotten help with. I didn't really know. Based on kind of what we come up with, I think she said that I had like a mild form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so that's just from how I grew up. Like, I don't know how everybody grew up as kids, but I grew up with young parents. And so it was hard, and lots of, the regular stuff that I don't even know if it's regular, because it's probably not. That's probably how I got here, is that it's not regular, but it became my regular. It became my normal. And so through the PTSD, I just didn't know how to handle things. Like, I was handling everything all wrong, and it's why in the beginning I had like PR nightmare, because I'm like, people are going off on me, I'm going off on them. But that was just a result of the things that I had gone through as a child. And so I like her because she's able to help me with those things. And I've gotten some occupational therapy, some help with work. I've never been in charge of so many people. I've never been responsible for so many lives. Like, there's a lot of weight that comes along with that. So she's helped me. And In the 2 years, I'll tell you, what do I now know for sure? And I should have made some notes about this because I really want to be really specific and clear about this. And I'll tell you what I now know for sure. I now know for sure that I don't have to have an answer to every single question that someone has for me. What does that mean? If someone contacts me and wants me to do something, I don't have to feel pressured to say yes or no right away. Sometimes, if you say yes, you get mad that you said yes. And then if you say no, you start to regret what you did. And so, one of the things that my therapist gave me, which I thought was so cool, like one time she's like, I'm going to give you a gift today. And I'm looking like, what? And she's like, the gift of let me think about it. And when I tell you that, I have used that gift and I have shared that gift with people. And, when someone's asking me for anything, be it money, be it time, be it whatever, and I have so many things going on and I don't want to regret saying no or yes, I just say, let me think about it. And really, I need to do that. And how much time do I need to think about it? I don't know, but I need the time. I also, after 2 years, now know that I am as worthy and valuable as I thought I was before, and that there's nothing that high or low that really defines me. So my highest moment doesn't define me, nor does my lowest moment. You know what I mean? I think sometimes if we fail or if our highest moment starts to become a medium or low moment, we attach ourselves to that. And so I am very clear and very aware of the fact that I am purely a vessel. And the things that I get as a result of my effort or hard work don't really define me. They don't. They're just, it's nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, that's not who I am. So as long as I am certain that that's not who I am, whether I have a lot or a little, I don't have to really concern myself about what someone thinks about me because of that. And so I'm really always cognizant of that. And the most important thing that I feel like I now know is that I have a voice, and I should use it. And I think that not just, I've been doing these podcasts since 2011, but you'd probably be surprised that I have had in the past a hard time communicating. I could not communicate to save my life. I could communicate professionally. I got to where I needed to get, but personally, the things that really matter to me, the things that really got to me, I had a hard time telling people about that. My family members, I have a hard time saying no. And I have learned over time that I can do it. It still is hard. Some days I set a limit or a boundary and it's not the best, but it's better than what I was doing before. And I know that. And so every so often I ask my therapist, what can you share with me that I can share with other people about therapy for people who can't afford it? Because let's face it, for a lot of us, it's expensive. It is expensive for me. It is the greatest expense that I've ever had. It's I've never felt better about the investment that I've made because I used to suffer or struggle with anger. I used to get so mad that I would black out. People always go, what do you mean black out? I'd get so mad that I would do and say things in a fit of anger and not even remember what it was. People be like, I can't believe you did that or said that. And I'm or I would go back and see the things I did or said and be like, oh my God. And so, in 2 years, I can't even, I would tell you, I haven't blacked out in maybe a year, it takes time. I haven't done that in a year, and I haven't really gone ape on nobody in about that plus. I don't, maybe the same. I just don't even get there with people anymore. You know what I mean? It's just I'm able to look. I think now that I have this mental health awareness, I don't even take things that people do or say so personal anymore because I understand that we're all coming from we're all communicating from our pile of trash. You know what I'm saying? So if your trash is stinky and you haven't fixed it, you're talking shit. See me? See what I'm saying? So when people are going there, I'm just this person hasn't dealt with their heap of trash. You know how I know? Because I also had a heap of trash inside of me that I had to deal with. And so I'm still dealing with it. And if therapy is something that you feel like you want to do, and you're not sure how you can afford it, there are lots of like free, and I looked this up. There are lots of like mental health centers that you can probably Google or find, regardless whatever your issue may be. If it's depression, if it's OCD, if it's any of these things, ADD, anything that you think you might have or symptoms, look them up. Do as much research as you can do on your own, and then find someone. There are lots of like therapists that are at churches. Like if there's someone at a church, like find a way to try to get some help. Um, and talk through your issues and do it as long as you feel like you need to do it, and don't be ashamed to do it. Don't be afraid to do it. You can tell people what it is. Let me tell you something. If you are a friend of mine, I can tell you like every day I'm quoting my therapist or saying what I learned in therapy, or just like my therapist said, that's how I'm going down, because I've learned how to deal with issues and deal with people and try to like really be in this kind of like middle space. And so this is honestly, therapy is the best thing that I've ever done for my life. Like, what is your greatest investment? Like, it is the best thing that I've done for my life, and it has also helped me relate to others and relate to in partnerships and romantic relationships, because of all the stuff that I was exposed to. I would enter relationships with all this gunk that like I didn't even have any prior experience. I'm just, a lot of us are carrying our parents' marital issues with us. And so I was going into relationships as a teen and a young adult with like grown adult problems, like because I felt like I knew. And so I had to like undo a lot of that and really learn how to communicate and really learn how to choose a correct partner. And I'll share something insanely personal with you about relationships and partnerships and men and what I learned about myself. I was like constantly picking the same guy, right? I was picking picking the guy that I wanted to change. And I didn't realize that that's what I was doing until, through therapy, I learned that I was basically practicing repetition compulsion. Repetition compulsion. One of my traumas in life was like, my parents' marriage. And so I was looking for the guy that was like my dad, and I wanted to find him and like fix him or make him be the person I wanted him to be. And so every person that I was selecting subconsciously was that kind of guy. And it was never working. It never works because, you're trying to fix something that doesn't exist, or you're trying to fix someone. And it's just this crazy thing. And if you look it up, it's called repetition compulsion. And a lot of us do it, and it's worth it to try to figure, what that thing is that you may be doing. And so once I realized what I was doing, it made it a lot easier for me to stop choosing that guy, because I had convinced myself that that guy kept choosing me, but that guy was not choosing me. That guy, I kept choosing him. And then when I started to really make sure, like, this is what I'm looking for, and if there's a guy who is doing any of these things, like, I'm not even going to entertain that, not even for a second. Like, I don't care about the chemistry. I don't care about the connection. Honey, it's not going to work. Like, if you are any of these things, it's not going to work. And once I started doing that, I started attracting the kind of guys that, were right for me. And then I was able to just like date from a much healthier place. And so, that's that. That's pretty much all I can do. Again, if you feel depressed, if you feel suicidal, always like look up the hotline. I don't have the number. I've seen it so much, and you can just Google it. It pops right up on the top. But if you need to talk to someone, talk to them. And if you want to hit me up, I'm always here. Ask.fm/Myleik Teele. Try to get to you as soon as I can. I try to get, answer about 10 questions a week if I can. But if I see something that's ultra pressing, they all come to my phone. I try to do my best. Have a nice night.